What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Trout Wrangler podcast. My name is Ryan Garrity. It is currently Friday, April 18th at 7:13 p.m. We got a guest today, or this evening. I'll let you introduce yourself a little bit, Farmy.
Yeah, sure. What's going on, guys? My name is, my name is Farmy. That's what I go by on the internet. At Farmington River on Instagram, skunkedagain.com, skunked again on YouTube. So yeah, thanks for having me, Ryan.
No problem, man.
Excuse my super nasally voice. I either caught a cold or have some terrible allergies. The weather's starting to turn up here in the Northeast, so we're gonna finally get the spring that all of you guys have been enjoying, but
Oh,
with it
dude,
comes a nice stuffy nose. So here we
I
are.
haven't, I haven't been enjoying it, bro. I have the same fucking shit. Damn, my nose has been stuffed up and my eyes have been watering like I've been crying for like 4 days.
Now, here's the thing. I this year was a big boy and actually started my Zyrtec when you're supposed to start it, which is before you're exposed to the pollen and stuff like that. So the fact that I actually did what I was supposed to do and started early enough makes me think that I probably have a cold, but I'm just gonna keep telling people it's allergies. So that'll be our little secret.
Hey, that's fine with me, man. But dude, you're an absolute meme machine, dude. Some of them. What made you want to start a mega viral meme page in the fly fishing community?
Mega viral is funny. Because I don't think obviously I didn't set out to create what this thing has become. So I guess the genesis of it was back in the day, there were a couple of accounts that were doing fly fishing memes. The biggest one that I can think of that probably had the most impact on me was this guy No Kipe. And he had been doing it for a while, and I loved his jokes. There were a few other guys that were doing it. Purist on the Fly was another one.
Yeah,
And I loved the jokes, but like I wasn't getting enough of them. And I kept saying to myself, I'm like, man, I wish they would do this, or I wish they would do that. And
yeah,
I remember after a day of fishing with one of my buddies, I was cracking a couple jokes. I'm like, dude, wouldn't this make for such a good meme? Wouldn't this make for such a good meme? I was driving home and I was like, I mean, it's not that hard to make a meme. Like, what if I made one or two myself and sent them to some of my fishing buddies and wonder how it would be received. So I mean that's what I did, and I sent it to the guy that I'd been fishing with earlier, and he was like, oh, that's hilarious, and then like never really said anything else. So I was like, huh, I wonder if other people would think these kinds of things are funny too. And I remember just like dumping 30 different ideas into the meme app and just like coming up with like a month's worth of stuff and then being like, well, now what do I do with it? And so I was like, I'm going to start posting it. And I didn't really know where the account would go at first. I kind of thought that I would do some like education and conservation awareness and stuff like that and kind of keep it more local and
yeah.
really it would be like kind of like a hometown thing. And then very quickly, I realized that I wasn't speaking just to guys that were in, my local community that fish the Farmington River. I was speaking to a lot of guys that are just like me who go to work 5 days a week, sit at a desk and try and, just think about their next fishing trip. What am I going to do? Where am I going to
Yeah,
go? Who am I going to fish with? What am I going to catch? And just daydream about it day in and day out. And that's why, like my tagline is average memes for average anglers, because like
yeah,
that's what I am. Like I try not to be preachy and I try not to like pretend to be the expert or like, try not to pretend that I have some guide level knowledge. Like the truth is, I'm just your average guy who wants to fish more than he can, thinks about it, obsesses over the opportunity to get to go out there. Um, and these are like, they're all informed by my experience too. So,
yeah,
these are the kinds of frustrations that I have or, observations and stuff like that. And so like, that's just kind of the genesis of it and where it comes from. And yeah, that's been it's been working for me so far. We're 4 years in. I use we're as if, it's more than one person. It's me. I'm 4 years into this little project. think the other day I finally hit my 800th post, which I was doing the math out, and I'm like, that's almost 200 a year, just under 200 memes a year, like, for the last 4 years. It's not too bad. I post more often than not throughout the course of the year. So it's crazy to have come this far and have made this many jokes in what feels like such a short period of time. But looking back on it, I'm like, I guess it's kind of been around for a little while now. So it still
Yeah, dude.
feels like, a ton of fun for me, and that's why I keep doing it.
I remember following the account. I had to have been shit. It was a lot. I had just started really heavily fly fishing. I was living up in the mountains
Okay.
and just doing the stereotypical shit, going
Yeah.
up there with your buddies, cracking beers and getting a little too
Oh,
getting
dude.
getting getting a little too carried away with the fish whistle
100%.
and
Yeah.
yeah, I remember seeing one. I think it was one of yours that was like when the metaverse guide walks down into his street. It was like a squatted truck, dude. I was like, oh my god, dude, this shit's so funny. But I came across it and I still followed it to this day, even on like my personal account, which I first followed it on. I was like, dude, this is so fucking funny. It's
No,
one.
I
It's
I
one of those
appreciate that.
things. I think the funniest one I've seen so far is it's just the layout of the meme is the one where it's the grape with its hands together, and it's like I'm about to ask you to use your pro staff discount.
Yes, yes, dude. Oh my
I
God.
love that one.
I totally forgot. So what's funny is I at this point have like that's one that I did so long ago, and I almost kind of forgot about it. I got to go through these again at some point. I'd love to go through them. I kind of was scrolling through my account the other day because I was looking for a specific meme um, that I was pretty sure was mine that I saw on another page, and I was like, I'm pretty sure I did that joke. And then I was like, but when did I do it? And then I started like looking. I'm like, I don't remember making half of these, or like more than half of these. And it's funny because the things that like stand out to me are like a lot of the times it's a joke that I was like, dude, this is gonna kill. Like this is gonna absolutely crush. There's no way it's not gonna crush. And then it was just like a massive, massive flop. And then there's like ones like that you were just describing where I'm like, I totally forgot that I even made that. Like totally 100% forgot. For a second, I was like, I'm gonna have to break it to him and tell him that's not my meme. And then I was like, wait a second, that is mine. Like, but it's mine from like 3 years ago. Totally, totally forgot about it, which is just hilarious. But yeah, no, it's in like that is literally like I said, like that's the kind of shit that like I love joking around about it because it's like so true, and it's like exactly what like me and my friends do to each other where it's like, hey, like, I heard that you might have a little discount over there, and it's like, you mind placing the one order that like, this fat order that I absolutely need, and like I know you're gonna have trouble saying no to. So yeah, man, that's hilarious. I appreciate that.
Dude, yeah, I'm going through that. I just got on with Free Fly in South
Okay.
Carolina,
Okay.
and my brother and I have been wearing that for years. My brother hasn't touched a fly rod but one time,
Okay.
and he
But it's
hit me up. That's why I found it. Is he hit me up the other day? He's like, "Hey, he's like, can you please order me some pants and some golf shirts with your pro discount?"
you're
I
like,
was like, "Yeah, sure."
yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
was like, "Sounds good to me, man."
Now,
But
to any of the brands that have been gracious enough to order me to put me on their pro list, I don't do that. Okay, I don't share my pro deal. All right,
yeah, I don't
so
either.
keep me on the good list. All right,
Yeah, my
and
dude,
if you
it's like
and
I
if you
feel
haven't
like
added me to your pro deal yet, I'm more than willing to come on it. Just to let you know.
dude, I think it's like a different story if it's like okay, it's my brother rather than like eight guys that are all
Yeah,
sitting
no,
around
I
a
know, I
table.
know. I joke around,
Yeah,
but
it's all
yeah, no,
good,
I'm always
dude.
like.
Yeah, I do a little bit of that too, but
Yeah,
like,
hey
dude,
man,
it's like
it's a barter economy.
yeah, dude, exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's like, dude, you can't tell me those dudes that are on like those big teams where they're flying people out to like all these different places aren't doing the same exact shit.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I definitely think that, the fly fishing industry is a little bit smaller than, like what you see in the bass industry and stuff like that.
Yeah,
And
dude.
a lot of the brands are smaller. I get it. Like people, I think people get actually one thing that like has been interesting to me is that I definitely have gotten to interact more with folks in the industry.
Yeah.
Um, and on like a more friend to friend level. And it's interesting to see, just how big fly fishing looks from the outside, but just how small it is. Once you get on the inside, it's a lot of the same people, a lot of the same players.
Oh yeah.
Um, and there's like everyone knows each other, and that can be a good thing or that can be a bad thing. You know what I
Oh
mean?
yeah.
Like so it's a small community, but that's one of the things I really like about it is that it is a community and it's not just like a hobby you go and do in a vacuum. And I think it's one of those hobbies that just becomes so obsessive for people and it becomes such a part of your lifestyle that like I was saying, like when you go to work, you're like on your lunch break or whatever, you're thinking about that fish that got away. You're thinking about how you're gonna fish that pool differently the next time you go and hopefully be successful. You're gonna think about that fish that's been feeding just out of reach for a while,
Yeah.
and how can you actually get there and get a fly in front of its face in a way that you're going to be successful. So um yeah, it's such a it's I mean, I don't know if it's unique in that you have a lot of other hobbies where like people are obsessive, like skiing and mountain biking and stuff like that, but it's just it's another one where even when you're off the water, it's
It
thing I want to
consumes
talk
you.
about. Yeah, exactly. It's the thing
Yeah.
I want to think about. I want to be doing stuff to get ready for my the next time I can go fishing, whether it's tying some flies, in like 5 minutes here or there I have, or what have you. So it's nice. And it's nice to, be able to be involved in this way and be
Oh yeah,
involved
dude.
in it and talk to so many people and learn about so many different things and like how diverse, doing the same thing is in different areas and how everybody has a slightly different way of doing things and a different take on it. And it's been so fun to get outside of the vacuum and outside of like that Northeast mentality that a
Yeah.
lot of people get stuck in because that's like, I'm in the Northeast. So like, everyone that I fish with regularly are Northeastern, fishermen.
Oh yeah.
So it's really cool to be able to, talk to guys like you, talk to guys out in the Mountain West or down south, and pick their brains on like what they do and how they do it. So
Yeah,
yeah.
dude. It's crazy how fishing differs in different parts of the United States, and how like, dude, it's crazy to look. It's like, seeing you put got a guy from, say, North Carolina, a dude from Vermont, a dude from Montana, and like a guy from California in a room, and it's just like stereotype. They all, there's no like stereotype about. I mean, I guess there kind of is, but it's like they're all different guys. Like it's literally like, okay, it's not, it's like, not, don't judge a book by its cover, but it's like you could all tell that they are fly fishermen, but it's like they all have, it's like a different character that you just unlocked in a video game.
Yeah, like everybody, everybody brings their background with them and then puts a little something on top of it. Like I always think it's funny because like, it's just the way people like anything, right? People dress a little differently. Like when I come down to Charleston, I always laugh because I'm like, it's all dudes in like quick wicking, like polo shirts and like, the synthetic polo shirts and like khaki shorts and flip-flops and either visors or like dad hats. Like everywhere you
Yeah,
go, everybody like you can tell. And then like when you leave that area, like, if you see somebody, you're like, oh, that dude, I know that dude's from like the Charleston area. Like I
yeah,
can pick up on it. And then the Northeast, a little preppier and stuff like that. And it is funny because I was making fun of some of the Reddington people, I think it was, not to call a brand out by name, but they were like just like easy targets because like it's like if you like typed into Chat GPT like hipster fly fisherman, like a lot of like
yeah,
like I feel like what would pop out if you did that prompt would be like somebody that's like sponsored by Reddington. And so like I
exactly.
was laughing and I was like making fun of like the big hats and like all this stuff. And one of the dudes, and to his credit, kind of called me out and was like, well, like, like what do you want them to wear? Like, Columbia PFG, like vintage shirt with like, the sleeves that roll up and get buttoned up and like the double-breasted pockets. Like, this is just how some people dress. And like, just because you don't think it's cool or whatever, doesn't mean they're being disingenuous. And
Yeah.
that was a good call out. I definitely needed that. And it made me rethink where I was just like, yeah, like we were just saying, not everyone in fly fishing is it's not all cookie cutter. It's not all what I think. For
Yeah.
me, me and my friends, we dress a little differently. We don't wear those big goofy hats and shit. But if you want to, hey,
Yeah.
maybe I shouldn't be so quick to judge, but yeah, it is it's
Dude,
yeah,
it's
there's a lot of
funny.
space.
I do like I've been. It's like I'll pull up. I still got a little bit of that Northeast in me, where it's
Yeah.
like I'll throw on like a pair of jeans, a flannel, a vest, and like a beat ass socks hat, and people are like, "What the fuck?"
Yeah.
I'm not going to the extent of throwing on the Tims. That's more my dad's speed.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
He's still like a Tims jeans
A
and
little New York.
little New
That's more
York.
New York. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's a
it's
little more
more
New
New York.
York.
I
Yeah,
don't
it's a
know
little.
why, but my dad, ever since I was a kid, always wore Tims. For some reason, I don't know why. I was like, Dad, they're
It's
gonna
funny.
call you out because they're gonna think you're from New York, man. He's like, No, no, they're not. I'm like, Yeah, they are, guy. Like,
Yeah, being in Connecticut, man, I see we see both you can tell who's from Boston, who's from New York. I'll just
oh
say
yeah,
that. Like it's yeah.
the Scully cap, and like the Larry Bird jersey kids. It's like, oh yeah, dude, straight out of Southie.
You don't even need the accent. Exactly.
No,
Yeah, yeah.
not at all. It's like you do. It's crazy too. It's like Connecticut. It's part of New England, but it's like my mom and dad always say it. They're like Connecticut. Connecticut's basically New York at this point.
Yeah, a lot of parts. It's like so I live right in the middle of Connecticut, near in central Connecticut near Hartford. And it is interesting because like this is where the changeover is, right? Like anything south of here is really New York. Anything north of here identifies a little bit more with Boston. And I think in part it's because like you used to have a lot more people up in Springfield. I won't bore people with this, but yeah, you used to have a lot more people up in Springfield, and they would commute up there. And I think they identified more with like just Massachusetts in general. And
Yeah.
it's funny because the state goes both ways. But it also is like a great place if you're an outdoorsman because
Yes.
you have like so much access to different areas, right? Where if I want to go fish in like my usual stomping grounds for trout has always been the Farmington River. It's not hard to get to. It's right there. But then if I want to go down and fish anywhere on the shoreline for striped bass, I can do that in not much longer of a time. If I draw like an hour radius around where I live, I have so much stuff I can do in so many different places. And if I bring it out, an hour, like 2 hours, 3 hours, which gets to be pushing it for like a day trip. um, it's just like everything opens up 2 hours away is southern Vermont. I can be on the
Oh
batting kill
yeah.
in less than 2 hours. So it's like a really great place to be as far as if you want to be like a suburban outdoorsman, right? If
Yeah.
you want to be out in the remote mountains as if you were in, Idaho or Montana, you're obviously not going to have that experience. But if you need to be at a desk 9 to 5, Monday through Friday, and you still want to be a weekend warrior or an after work warrior, it's a great place to
Oh yeah.
live. And yeah, I really like it. I like the Northeast.
That dude.
It's a great spot.
I almost went to Endicott. I almost went back
Hmm.
up to go to Endicott, and
Seagulls, go Seagulls.
oh
Yeah,
yeah, I either was gonna go there, Curry, because it's like honestly, dude, like I haven't really talked about this on the show. I have a
yeah,
learning
no,
disability,
okay,
and so Curry has one of the best learning disabled programs in
cool,
college, and
nice.
I almost went there, or Endicott had a good one too,
Yep,
and
I got a buddy that
and
went to Endicott.
dude, you could catch striped bass across the street from Endicott.
Dude, I mean, they have bluffs right on campus. Yeah, exactly. So
Yeah.
actually, it's not even across the street. What you're talking about is actually still part of campus. And like they have a dorm that has like my buddy had a dorm that literally was on these bluffs. And I remember being like, what the fuck? Like you don't he was a golfer. And I was like, dude, you don't fish, but like you should just get like a shitty, striper surf casting, little spinning setup, and like absolutely be out here. And he just had no real interest in it. He was like, "No, I want to go golfing," which is
Fuck that.
fine. But like, yeah, I was like, dude, like you live right here. Like this is zero
Yeah,
effort. You know what I mean? But you can only, you can only do so much. You can only try and convince somebody
yeah.
so much. I was like, God damn though, dude, if I lived here, it would be game over, absolute
That's
game
part.
over.
That's
But
part of the reason I didn't go there is because I was like, if I went to Endicott, what are the chances I'm going to class to
you're just
fish?
gonna fish. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I'm just gonna fish. Same reason why I didn't go to Western Carolina or App
There you go.
State. I was like, dude, I mean, I already had enough trouble not going to class with no fishery around me. I was like, dude,
Yeah,
you send me to Endicott or Curry, I'm either gonna be at a fucking Sox game or out fishing.
that's really funny, dude. Yeah, that's really, really funny.
But it's
Yeah.
crazy. I do like. I feel like New England too, dude. Is it me or is New Hampshire the south of the north?
South of the north. I guess I've never really thought of it like that. It is. I do not like New Hampshire, and like that might be a controversial statement. I understand there's nice stuff up there. I understand that there's some good fishing up there. I don't like the people in New Hampshire, the people I've interacted with when I like have done outdoors activities up there, and I simply choose not to go up there anymore. I don't know why you would go to New Hampshire if you knew what Vermont held, like if you
Yeah,
knew
I
how
gotta
good
agree,
Vermont was and how diverse it is. Like yeah, sure, you don't have the White Mountains, but like like you don't need them if you have like enough of a brain and like know what you're doing. um so yeah, I'm not a New Hampshire guy. I think that's a fair statement. That's really funny to say, the south of the north. And the more I think about it, the more I'm like, that's probably a pretty apt way of describing it.
dude.
But
I
yeah,
it's crazy. I see more beat to shit for lifted Ford Rangers in New Hampshire than I do down here in North Carolina.
that's awesome though. I love the
It
fucking
is.
Ford Ranger,
I do
man.
too. The
What a
ultimate guide
truck.
vehicle.
Oh my God, dude. It can do anything. Have you seen that? There's like a bunch of memes or like some guy did like a song. I know that truck. I ain't no stranger. I know that truck. It's a fucking Ford Ranger. Have
Yep.
you seen that? Yeah.
Oh
And he
yeah.
just, oh, dude, it's so good. My buddy just got a Ranger. He got a new one though, but I showed him
Oh,
that and he was like, you know what? Now that you showed me this video, I fucking wish that I had like, waited and found like a vintage one.
dude.
But here it is.
One of my boss has an old he's got a hunting farm down here.
Cool.
And he's got an old Ford Ranger on like the most obnoxious like swamp grappler tires. And he said he's like, I just go down there. He's like, man, I just kill a case of beer and ride it around.
That's so funny, dude. That's
Yeah.
so funny. If you have land that you can do that on, that's fucking awesome,
Oh
dude.
yeah. Dude,
That's
so
awesome.
how'd you finagle your way into iCast a couple years back?
It wasn't iCast.
Oh.
It was the fly fishing show that I did.
Oh.
Yeah, I think Fly Lords went to iCast. I'm trying my hardest to get into iCast for free without buying like a $3,500 badge. So if you know anyone or if any of your listeners knows anyone, hit me up because I will whore my account out all day to get into iCast. But that's neither here nor there. But yeah, so I did a booth at the fly fishing show a few years ago, and then I've gone back and done like interviews with brands for the past couple years, just as like a thing kind of to do. I didn't want to do the booth again. The booth was great. I sold a bunch of the skunkedagain.com products that we have. We do stickers
Yeah.
and funny merch like t-shirts and stuff like that. So I had a pretty good time working at having a booth. We sold a bunch of product and stuff like that. But I was spending like the entire show, running the booth and just trying to
Yeah.
like process orders and stuff like that, which was great because we were busy, but like I didn't really get to talk to anyone. And so I was kind of bummed because like there were so many people from so many brands that I'd wanted to meet and I wanted to chill with and talk to and get to know. And I just really didn't get to do that. So not this past year, but the year before that, I went down with just like an iPhone in a dream. I bought like a wireless DJI microphone set. I bought like a fake newscaster microphone
I
that I
saw
could
that.
put the DJI mic into, and I made my own like, newscaster box that said Skunked Again News as if it was like the CNN logo, and it said Skunked Again on the other side. And I talked to like every brand that I could. And it was a whirlwind. I did it in one day, and I did the same thing this year. And talked to like a lot of the same brands. And I think we had a lot more fun this year because we kind of like knew what to say, what to do. They had, they'd done it one year before, and so like they knew I wasn't going to screw them. I think everyone kind of at first was a little bit worried because they're like, yo, here's the meme guy. And like he's gonna come and just try and make us look like dumbasses, you know what I mean? And like that wasn't my intention. Like I was trying to have like serious but fun conversations with brands and like give them a chance to like tell people what they have going on this year. Like, why are you coming? You're bringing all this stuff to the show. Like, why? Just say why. And we, it's been pretty well received. I think it's obviously not my most popular content, because people like the jokes, and like it's just so much easier to laugh and click share than like to watch a product like launch kind of video, I think. And I get that. But yeah, we had really good reception, and it's been like a nice thing to have as an alternate to the jokes. Like, because I found the comedy, as much as I love doing it, as much as people love it, um, there are some people that it just they either don't get it or they get rubbed the wrong way, or
Yeah.
they're very wary of it. And so like, it's nice to be able to interact with people and to talk to people through like that other form of content. But it's not like the focus of what we've been doing. And I don't know, I've been thinking about doing a little bit more, branching out a little bit more, and maybe doing some more like product review type stuff, or just like talking about products. So we'll see. That's just a whole big commitment, and I've been reluctant to, really sit down and launch it or plan it. But it's something that I've been playing around with. But yeah, the show stuff has been very it's just unique. I think Flylords tried to do it once after I did it. And I saw they didn't do it again this year, so they must not have either liked it or felt that it wasn't worth their time. But I've been
Dude,
enjoying it, and yeah,
I
it's had pretty good reception.
I think that whole the show stuff, it's super fun. Like we used to do them. I was on a bass fishing team in college,
Okay.
and we used to go to those, and it was always fun because it's like we'd sit at the show all day, and they're usually in big cities. Like, were you at the one in Westboro, the uh,
Uh,
the New England fly fishing show?
no, yeah, well, I no, I didn't go to the New England Fly Fish Show. I went to the one in Marlboro 2 years ago, and then I've been going to the one in Edison, New Jersey. That's where I went this year. That's where I went last year
Okay.
too. That's the biggest one on the East Coast for as far as fly fishing shows go. Um, so that one's like that's a lot of fun. But I think there's a New England like fishing show, and that one's huge. That I know. I've never gone to it, but I've heard it's a blast. And I think there's one in Providence, one like just outside of Boston,
Yeah,
that are both supposed to be freaking awesome.
dude. Honestly, I want to go up to the one in Boston so fucking bad.
Yeah.
I want to go to one in Boston so bad, and because I have family in Marblehead. I'm like, dude,
Okay.
I just take the fucking ferry over. I'm like,
Yeah.
just wander
100%, dude.
around and get banged up and just like interview people.
Dude,
So,
it's a lot of fun. It's interesting. I tried to do a lot of like just like talking to people because I was gonna make like a montage of like talking to everyone, like how's your fly fishing show, like what's your favorite thing you've seen, like bullshit, and then if I could get funny shit in there, I would get funny stuff in there. But the number of people who were like, I don't want to talk, and I was like,
yeah,
really, like what, you're here, like they're like, no, 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 I don't like that stuff, and I'm like, dude, like fly fishermen are just, like we
they're
are
hit or
just,
miss, dude.
it's so hit or miss, and like I forget all the time that like I'm a very social person, but
Same.
like a lot of people in fly fishing are not. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
it's not exactly the most gregarious sport, or hobby, whatever the hell you want to call it. So yeah, it's funny, dude. Like it reminds me of just how like every year I go to these things now, and it just reminds me of like we were talking about earlier, like how diverse the sport is. But then at the end of the day, even these people that don't want to talk. I mean, they don't want to talk on camera, but you talk about trout to them, or if they're, big saltwater fishermen, like you start talking about the saltwater stuff,
Yeah.
and they just light up and they turn into like a whole different person, right? Like
Yeah.
I've had conversations on like hours long conversations with guys on a skiff, and you just are like, I don't think I would ever say two words to you if we were not fishing, right? You know what I mean? And it's
Yeah.
like it's so cool. And like I mean, I even have a couple like guys that I would consider close friends now. Um, that it's all from fishing, and it's about like the love of fishing, and like we now are able to like talk, and like we're friends outside of fishing too. But
Yeah.
it was
For
that
sure.
common love that really brought us together, and it's
Yeah,
awesome. It's
dude.
a
And that's what's
really cool
cool,
thing to have
dude.
in life.
It's just like you're what you're talking about earlier. Like people, dude, you can tell too, where it's like the demeanor of some guys. Like we're obviously like very sociable dudes. Some guys, like especially like guide captains on a skiff, sometimes like down in Charleston, something like that, or like down in Florida. It's truly like a I'm waking up at 5:30, drinking my cup of coffee, and by God, I hope you catch a damn fish. It's like definitely a business to
Totally.
where they won't open up much. And I'm
Yep.
like, I'm sitting there slugging beers on the bow of the skiff, trying to get these dudes to open up.
Yeah.
And it's like, dude, I've had some like that to where it's like really hard to talk to some of those guys. But then I've had some, dude. Like I went on a trip way back in the mountains before like I really kind of like knew what I was doing.
Yep.
And I was working at a golf and lake club in the mountains. This was right after I graduated college.
Okay.
And I went on a guide trip, and it was the funniest damn thing. I end up meeting the guide at the shop. We end up I get in his truck. We're going to a one of their private waters in like North Georgia.
Okay.
And it's kind of like a little bit tough to talk to him at first. I rip out a dab pen and
Nice.
I'm like, you mind if I smoke a little weed in your truck? He's like, I don't care at all if you let me get a couple.
There you go.
And I handed it
There you
over
go.
to him. I handed it over to him, and we had a great conversation and the best day of fishing the entire day. He literally, dude, this was like really before Turtle Box was even really big. Ripped
Okay.
out like the first gen turtle box and just sat it down on the sat it down on the shoreline. And he's like, "You mind if I
Nice.
fish with you a little bit?" It's like, I don't give a damn, dude. I was like, I'm just out here to have fun and like
Yeah.
catch a few fish. He's like, sweet. He's like,
It's
I never really fish with like customers and shit like that. He's like, but if you're good with it, he's like, you won't tell my boss. He's like, let's do it. And we ended up
it's
fucking
awesome, man.
beating the shit out of fish. We
That's
listened to like
awesome.
the Grateful Dead the entire day.
That's awesome,
Stereotypical as
dude.
fuck, I know.
I mean, the thing is though, dude, like it's all about what you want out of it, right?
Yeah,
It's if it's what you want your day out of it, and I think it's so important to have a well, it's important to fish with the right guide, right? And this
yeah,
the guides are humans, right? They have personalities.
oh
It's
yeah,
important to know, and you can't always figure it out, especially if you go somewhere new. But when you can, it's important to like if you want the fun, joking around, jovial guide, like it's important to book that guy and
yeah,
not book the dude who's super fucking serious about fishing and getting on fish, right? Like if you want to go and you're super serious about fishing and like that's all you care about, then book with that guy. But like, I have friends that have had really bad trips because they wanted the fun loving, beer drinking, Grateful Dead listening guide, and instead they got like, the ex-Marine who runs his trips like an ex-Marine would. You know what I mean?
yeah,
And like, and like they're like, holy shit, like, like I'm getting screamed at. And you're like, yeah, dude, like who like come on, man. Like, yeah, of course you are. You're farming hook sets and missing fish. Like everybody's getting pissed. Like you should have booked
yeah,
with this guy, Like so it yeah, it's funny, dude, though. I had a story. I've got I was fishing in a new section of a new river, and I had like driven by this pool tons of times, and I noticed every time I drove by it, there was this gray minivan parked there. And I was like, all right, man, it's either somebody fishing or it's who like I is like I mean I wasn't even really near hiking trails. It was like I was in like a village center almost, or like just outside like a village center, I guess.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, I don't like, and I could every time I drove by this van, like nobody was in it. So like eventually I was like, it's got to be somebody fishing. But I would even look at like the whole run, and I was like, I don't see this the owner of this van anywhere. So finally one day I'm fishing this run, and the van had been there, and this dude's walking back on the road that runs next to the river, and he calls down to me. He's like, "What are you fishing?" I tell him what I'm fishing. He's like, "No, no, 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 no." He tells me, he's like, "This is what you need. Like, this is the inside baseball. Like for this stretch. Like, this is
Yeah.
what's popping. This is what you need." So I look at my box. I'm like, I don't have anything remotely, like remotely what you're describing. So I tucked it away. Went back to the fly shop the next day. Picked up some flies because I don't really tie dry flies very much. I just I don't have like I like bigger stuff. I like nymphs because they're simple,
Yeah.
and I like bigger stuff because I'm clumsy and you can
Like
make.
game changers and shit like that, woolly
So
buggers.
dude, no, I like to tie. I have the worst ADHD
Me and you
on planet
both,
Earth.
brother.
I don't want stuff that's multi-step and tie this and this and this and this and this and this and this. I don't have the patience, man. Like I want to tie down and dirty stuff that works. Like I tie a ton of Clousers every year for striped bass. I tie all my saltwater flies. So like I tie a lot of like Clousers, a lot of half and halves, a lot of
Yeah.
lefties deceivers. I've started getting a little bit more into the EP brush stuff and EP flies just in general. I like them. I had the pleasure of meeting Enrico, and I did a segment called Rate My Box with him.
I saw
And
that.
yeah, I released it. So I did one Rate My Box with him. I did a Rate My Box with the guys that I never released it, and I need to. 2 years ago with the Corderos. Greg is the younger Cordero. His dad is a legendary, legendary, legendary striped bass saltwater fly fisher, like fly tire. He's really popularized the flat wing. They have flatwing.com,
Yeah.
flat-wing.com, and like they're just, I mean, dude, there's nobody that does it better than those guys for that style of fly. So that was a fun one. And then I have one that I just recorded with the About Trout guys, James Garrettson,
Oh, that dude's the
and
man, isn't he?
he is, oh my God, he has become through this account because he has such a good sense of humor. He's become a very close friend. Like we call each other on the telephone,
Yeah,
we
I'm pretty
text
good
each
buddies
other.
with him too.
Yeah, he is the man, dude. He's so nice. He's so approachable. I finally got to meet him at Edison this year. We had a blast. We made some content that I need to release. It's already April. It's like 3 months out of the show, and I still have content that I've been trying to release weekly on the YouTube channel. And I'll cross post it on Instagram sometimes, but like the Instagram just people just don't like it as much, so people don't see it as much. So I'll usually like throw a link up on the story. But yeah, James, highly, highly, highly recommend anyone that wants to fish the San Juan River. It's only about trout. I wouldn't bother looking at anyone
Oh,
else. Those
hell no.
guys are the absolute best. And they're pros. Like they're real
He's
pros,
the
and like they'll
man.
dial in your trip for how you want it. If you want to be serious, they can be serious. If you want to have a ton of fun, you're gonna have a ton of fun. But either way, you're gonna have a good day on the water if you go with them. So that's my little plug for my buddy James. But
Dude, yeah. He's the
yes, we
man,
did we,
dude.
we did a rate my box with James. So he's gonna tear apart my trout box, which is funny, dude, because my trout box, I basically I, like 3 years ago at this point, I bought one of those Fulling Mill 1060 boxes, I think they were. They can hold like, almost 1100 flies.
Yeah,
And
dude.
dude, I filled that bitch up. Like I just sat here tying. It was glorious. I had my own little tying room here at my house, which I've since gotten kicked out of and subjugated to the basement, like a lot of guys. But like I had this like, gorgeous bench, and I had all my stuff permanently set up, and I just tore through. I just filled that thing up. And so now, like, it's funny because around like soon after I tied all those flies, I really started mostly fishing for striped bass, and just got obsessed with the saltwater stuff.
Yeah.
And so I'm like just now starting to tie trout flies again, and I'm sitting here like, everything is so small and like I need glasses now. I feel like I've become an old man in the time since like I really was tying a lot of trout flies. And I was sitting here, I'm like, the threads all so like yeah, I'm used to like tying on VSP and like just
Yeah.
like or excuse me, GSP and like, thick Vivus, whatever, thread that like just doesn't I can put so much tension on it, it never breaks. And then like I was tying up a bunch of squirmies the other day I'm in a fishing game club that's like right next to my house. And so, one of our things is I love stock trout. And like
Yeah.
it started as like a way to make fun of all the guys that love stock trout. And now that like, the commitments of life get in the way and stuff like that, I've now come to like come full circle on it. I'm like, it's not
Yeah.
a joke anymore, man. I love my little stockies. Like
Same
it's
here.
so nice to get out on the club pond when like I have no time, it's 10 minutes from my house. I can get there. I can have, I can get 4 or 5 fish in 15 minutes, call it a night, and come back home. And like, it's a nice little thing to have. So I was tying up some squirmies the other day and I broke the thread, just putting like a squirmy on like the hook. And I was like, oh God, like I haven't tied with like, real thread in a while. So it's been an adjustment back to it. But so they tore my nymph box apart, but it was a lot of fun. So that segment will come out soon and it'll be good.
I'm
People
texting.
should hopefully enjoy it.
I'm texting James Garrettson right now.
I know, yeah. And
I'm like, yo, I'm on the
are you gonna get him on
podcast.
this show?
Oh, I've already had him on.
You can see how much research I did. All right, good. So
Dude, nah,
so
you're
that's
all
great.
good. Don't worry about it, bro. Yeah, I had
Um,
him on, dude. He was so damn funny, bro.
isn't he the man, dude? Yeah.
He's the dude.
So
So
we used to do lives, me, him, Purist on the Fly, and Nymphing. We did lives like, I don't know, 3 years ago now, because I've had this account for 4 years. And he would come on and you could tell that like we would start getting down like the road of talking about stuff, and he would always be so funny. And then all of a sudden, like one of us would say something and he'd be like, I am a professional in the fly fishing industry. You know what I mean? Like he'd be like,
yeah,
I can't say that. You know
yeah.
what I mean? And we'd be like, we know
He,
you feel this way. And he'd be like, I can't say that. Like, like
dude.
I like
Oh, he did the same thing to me a couple times. I felt so bad, and that. Oh, dude, it was so. He's the man, dude.
he is the man, dude. He is the man. So yeah, I absolutely fucking love him. But
Yeah,
yeah, so
dude.
yeah, we used to be like, like rag on like Reddington with us. He'd be like, no, I can't do that. Like, So, but yeah, no, and he had, our like, I don't know, you know, yeah. So I don't want to put any words in his mouth. He's a great guy, and we used to talk a lot about the influencer stuff back
Yeah,
coming out of the pandemic, especially, because I think that was like the biggest to me. That was like that's probably the biggest holdover negative wise. I mean, pandemic caused a lot of new fishermen to come into the sport, and
yeah,
that was good and bad, right? It was good in one sense because you saw the sport in some way, or the hobby. I hate calling it a sport, but I don't know what else to call it sometimes.
yeah,
You saw the hobby, the sport, whatever, advance in a lot of ways, and you saw a lot of people come in and have a lot of interest in it, and all of a sudden, a lot of these like niche, especially topics around conservation, became not mainstream per se, but like became a little bit more aware with people that otherwise weren't really thinking about the rivers around them, right? And so like all that stuff was great, but like one of the negative things that like I think came out of that was that eh, through the commercialization like of some of these people, they or some of these smaller companies, they started like saying like, how do I market, and like how do you
yeah,
market in a way that like is easy and cheap, right? That's the end thing, is like how do I get cheap marketing, right? And you've seen this in a lot of other sports like skiing. I think about this a lot where
oh,
like
dude.
it's I think just at this point become just kind of accepted. But like I remember um like 10 years ago when social media was like really getting big, guys talking about, because I used to be really involved in the skiing industry and in the ski world. And I remember talking to guys like out west, and they'd be like, like I have like the way I make ends meet is that I get free skis and I sell the skis, right?
Yeah.
And the only way I get the free skis is if I submit like 3 photos a week that are usable in a marketing setting, right? And like
Yeah.
they're like, that means that I have to go out and get, if even if I don't want to ski, or even worse, if it's not safe to ski, and like I got to ski through some like, you know, questionable avalanche risk, I got to go get these photos, right?
Yeah.
And it's like that sucks, man. Like, you're putting people, it's cheap advertising. Now, like it's a little different in fishing, but what I saw and what I think a lot of people saw was just like a lot of people that were grifting, almost grifting, right? Or like they
Yeah.
were very disingenuous in the products they were pushing. And like they knew that these were subpar products, but they were able to get like whether it was exposure because they wanted to become like,
Bro. Yeah.
they wanted to become like a known entity in fishing, or whether it was, whatever. And that has carried through still, right? And
And I
like I
hate it.
know, yeah, and like, I know so my thing is we make fun of ideas, we don't make fun of people, and that's like something I try and like really stick to,
Yeah.
because first of all, like you don't want to be like the person that's attacking people. Like there are other accounts that have done that in the past and they've done okay jobs at it, and it's been with like no success, right? Like it didn't change the mark, and all they did was alienate people and got people pissed off at them. But like when you attack the ideas, and like I'm saying, like, when you try and speak out, and I have a ton of content about this, about like just people just saying anything, and like it's disingenuous, right? And like
Oh
people
yeah.
come to you, and they come to you, and like once you have a platform, like I think that you do have some responsibility to be genuine. And like, there are good products, and like if you're pushing good products, like more power to you. And if you're doing
Yeah.
it in a really authentic way, more power to you. If you're saying that you live full time in a van fishing and traveling the country, and 95% of your content is in your dad's driveway, it's like, why should I trust you? You know what I mean? Like, why would I take your opinion on products seriously? Like, you're lying, and you're just trying to dupe me. So why would I not assume that you're trying to dupe me in everything else, right? Like with the products you're pushing and stuff like that. And so like that's been like my one of my biggest pet peeves, like in the last few years in
Yeah.
fishing, is just this like social media has been great in that it's been, and I can't complain, right? Like it's given me a platform, and like it's given me tons of friends across the country and all throughout the sport. But it's also given people who like, are just here to almost be culture vultures in a way.
Yeah.
It's
And
also given them platform, and I think some people, it's
have
tough to see the difference
have
sometimes.
you ever watched the Millhouse podcast episode with Bob Clouser?
Yeah, I
He
posted a clip like a year ago maybe
dude,
of
he
from that episode.
he yeah, the wannabeers quote.
Yeah.
Dude,
Yep.
so I lived in Florida with for 2 years, and I became good buddies with this guy named John Grostel.
Okay.
Super
Okay.
good dude, originally up there from New York, and we used to tarpon fish around. I call it the Goon, um, but right down there in Titusville, Mosquito
Okay.
Lagoon,
Cool.
and we're out there fishing. He's good buddies with Bob.
Wow.
And
That's cool.
he's
That's
like,
really
dude,
cool.
you gotta watch this podcast. Bob and his wife Jackie are supposed to be coming on my podcast here in the next couple weeks.
That's sick.
But
That's really sick.
Bob said that quote that he had when he was talking on that Millhouse podcast sums it
Yep.
all the way up. And that's coming from a dude that is probably he's up there on the, in my opinion, the Mount Rushmore of fly fishermen,
Yeah, I mean, any
saltwater.
Hall of Fame of fly fishing, he's in that Hall of
He's
Fame,
in that
right? I
Hall of
mean,
Fame.
yeah.
And it's like, some of these companies, when they saw that, they kind of should have shuttered.
Yeah.
Especially like, but it's like he said that, and I didn't see. Dude, like we still see that, and I think what you were saying about originality and being genuine, there's not enough of that.
Yeah.
There's so many people that put on like a different face, and all that. Like part of me, like if you're like a big god, you're running your own business, you got to do that. But it's like, dude, if you're like a influencer kind of thing, dude, be genuine. Like a lot of
Right.
people, like I've got some shit for some of the stuff I've said on here, and it's like it's usually guys like that. It's your same thing. It's like, all right, thanks, boomer. Like
Yeah.
but it's like, dude, don't change yourself to see a Instagram post from like a company that's giving you like a not even real monetary value, like
They don't
essentially.
care about you at all, right? Like they really
Yeah.
don't. Like if the pretty images stop coming, the free shit that they're giving you, or even some of these guys are just doing it for a discount code.
Oh yeah.
It's over. You know what I mean? And they just it's yeah. And you see a lot of guys tying their horse to interesting cards. And the like I was saying earlier, right? It's a small industry, man.
Oh
So like
yeah.
when people kind of like when you get that reputation of being like a grifter, like people know it, and like you can see why certain people work for certain companies,
Yeah.
and there's other companies that just stay above it. I'm not like I said, like I don't want to yeah, I'm not gonna talk too much shit in
Oh, I'm not
specifics,
either.
but like everybody knows it, dude. Like you can see the same names and the same bios for like the same thousand, whatever
Dude,
follower accounts, and
I'll
like you're just
be
like, okay, like
I'll be
I get it.
honest. We think it's bad for the fly fishing industry. It is so much worse for the damn bass fishing industry, dude.
I'm sure.
Oh,
Yeah,
dude, I've seen it do like. There's one guy that it's essentially like I'm not gonna say his name. He's because he's a good dude, but it's like it's one of those things where it's like, man, come on, like better than that. It's like, come on, it's like they're giving you 50% off or like 20% off on something. Like,
Yeah, 50 would be good in a lot of
yeah,
cases,
dude,
man. Like
like
some guys are getting it. Like I'm like, dude, like
10.
the Black Friday deal just is better than whatever these guys hooked you up with. Like you should
Yeah,
have just
right.
shop before Thanksgiving.
Yeah,
Like, or like, whatever, or shop before Christmas,
dude, but
like
there you see it all the time. You look in a bio and there's like 12, 15 different companies. You got all like especially on bass boats, you got unless you are a touring professional and fishing is your livelihood, you shouldn't have a carpet decal on your bass boat in my opinion.
it so yeah, so like it comes down to like the ego shit. Like
Yeah.
you want to look like you want to look like the big names that you see on social media for like
Yeah.
when you finally catch that, what I don't know the bass world very well. So like, you finally catch what, like an 8 pounder, that nine
Yeah.
pounder, that's like a phenomenal fish, right? When you because you're gonna assume that thing goes viral and you want the carpet stuff, you want like the logos everywhere so it
Yeah.
all looks good. I think it's like the same to me, dude, it comes down to a lot of ego stuff. And so
Hmm.
I mean, like I take a lot of crap for like my pseudo anonymity for being like pseudo anonymous
Yeah.
because people know who I am. I go to the shows and it's not like I'm wearing a buff or like something over my face, right? Like people
Yeah.
know who I am. People in the industry know who I am. I've met a lot of my followers, like a lot of fans. It's awesome. But like and one of the reasons why, like when you were like, do you want to come on the podcast? I'm like, I don't do a lot of these podcasts, and you were a nice guy. I've listened to some of your stuff. I think you're very genuine, and I was like, I'm willing to put aside like an hour or whatever and talk to you, but I really don't want to be on camera. And part of it is I I don't want it to be about me because it's not about me. It's about the jokes that I'm making. And the jokes that I'm making, I think, resonate with like a lot of normal average fishermen, guys that are not trying to make a career out of this,
Right.
guys that, like I said at the beginning of this, like guys that are at work wanting to go fishing and, like just love fishing because you love fishing, you love the culture, you
Yeah.
love the people, and you love everything about it, right?
Yeah.
And to me, it is easier to focus people on that than it is to focus like when you are a recognizable person behind it, like it becomes more about you. And it's like not about just the content. And I don't know, I've had people tell me that like I'm incorrect in that thinking and that like I would grow my account more and have more success, whatever success looks like, if I were to like step out from behind the shadows and not be the Wizard of Oz type, like guy that like nobody knows. But like to me, that also would require me to become like this personality that I don't necessarily like want it to be about me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I don't need to inject like myself into this any more than like I already am. Like, and so I like the content being that you can read my content, you can see yourself in it.
Yeah,
You don't
and
have to see it coming from me.
I
And
think
like you inevitably you will,
that's
right?
what's good about your account is it's like my dad always says it this way. It's for the gritty lunch pail guy that's at
Yeah.
work, sun up, the sun down, or 6 a.m. 9 to 5. I work 6 to 2:30, but it's
Yeah,
like
yeah.
it's
But you get
that
what I'm saying,
guy. Yeah, it's for the
Yeah.
lunch pail average dude that's sitting at work, and it's
Yes.
like I call it's like see it's one of those things I call like that kind of like the whole elitist community. I call it the wine and cheese crowd,
Okay.
and it's like that's what it's like the guys that they'll have the Able reels and they're at like they'll have the Ables, the RL Winstons, and it's like I think that's kind of one of those things I like. I hate saying it this way, but it's like a RL Winston makes a good rod and Able makes a great reel. Don't get me wrong, but it's
Hmm.
like they have kind of like separated themselves from like the working man's fly fishing stuff. That's
Yeah.
for like your the dudes that fish say twice a year, and it's up in say like Big Sky, Montana and it's like don't get me wrong, we all love stock trout, and
Yep.
it's like on like it's to me it's like I don't know if you hunt much. It's like shooting quail that are caged up, and you got
Okay.
guys that go
Yeah.
out there, lift up the cage, and then they're just popping. It's essentially like, here I'm gonna throw this trout in
No,
water,
yeah.
cast your fly in front of it, and he's gonna eat it. And it's like
So,
we're out there. It's like we want to go out there. We want to sweat our fucking dicks off
yep,
and we want to. It's like if we're catching nothing, you know what? We're gonna ride the struggle bus, and if we're riding the struggle bus, we're probably cracking a beer next to the damn river, sitting there in the sand, watching watching the butterflies fly around. I've done that plenty of times.
totally, dude. So, and sit down, smoke the fish whistle, and just watch nature for a little bit and just chill
Yep.
out. But I'll push back on that just a little bit.
Okay.
Um, so in that there there's that reputation because of the price point
Yeah.
on a lot of these products, right? I guess like I would divide it into like there are some of these price points are now at like at the higher end, they're almost aspirational, um,
Yeah.
tools. Because it's what these things are, right? At the
Oh
end of the day,
yeah.
they're tools. And I mean, can you catch a fish on a cheap Echo Boost? Totally, absolutely. But like, there are also people I would say that like aren't like pure white collar people that
Yeah.
like they want to buy a Thomas and Thomas, they want to buy a Helios, they want to buy that new R.L. Winston,
Yeah.
Air 2 or whatever it is, Pure 2. Like, and they've these are guys that grind on the water just like what
Yeah.
you're talking about.
I
But
was
like
I was
they
just getting
also,
ready to follow that. I'll be like,
yeah,
there
yeah.
are guys that are out there buying this
So
shit that
totally,
do
and
grind it
and I
out.
have friends that like will, they'll save all their pennies together, and instead of buying that new car this year, they're gonna buy, a new, they're gonna buy, a premium reel and a premium rod. They're gonna fish the fuck out of it. They're fishy guys.
Yeah.
That does exist. There
Oh
is
yeah.
the other side of that consumer market, especially where I live, right? Like, because like I'm in Connecticut. Like, there's a ton of guys in finance or in law that live down by the city or live up by Boston. When I say the city, New York City, they're making gobs of money, and they drive Aston Martins and shit like that. So
Yeah.
obviously they're gonna buy. They walk into a shop and they're like, why would I buy low end? I don't
Yeah,
buy
exactly.
nothing in my life, right? So that obviously exists. There are other guys, like I said though, that, like I fish a lot of hatch reels, and
Yeah, those are awesome
um
reels.
the thing is, dude, like they're bulletproof. And like when I'm in the salt water and I get home and I'm like lazy at the end of the day and I don't necessarily want to do like the most intense, freshwater rinse of everything, like I hate to say it, dude. Like the number of times that I've dunked a hatch reel and then in salt water and then come home and like barely fucking washed it off or not washed it off at all. And the thing is, are still just absolute bulletproof because they're totally sealed and stuff like that.
Yeah.
To me, I'm like, all right, that was worth the $1,000 that I spent on this reel, right? You
Yeah.
know what I mean? Because
Oh
like
yeah.
it's a piece of equipment that's always gonna last me. And like I love the guys over at Hatch too. Like guys over at Hatch are just they're like like Adam is just the man, dude. Like the owner of Hatch, like he's the absolute man. Huge shout out to him. If you can get him on your show, you should. He's the real deal. And absolutely love them. And like, so I think there's all that's to say about like the high end stuff on the market. Like I think there's a place for everything. You
Oh
don't
yeah.
have to have that stuff
No.
though. You know what I mean? And so and I get and like I almost see it like on they don't even have to really like advertise, right? Like Helios obviously has like a huge marketing campaign
Oh
behind
yeah.
it because it's Orvis, but like like Winston doesn't do a ton of
No,
advertising
they
outside
don't.
of like guides because they don't have to, man. Like the products kind of speak for themselves. And
And
like
it's
when
the
you
same
cast a
thing with
Winston,
Hardy.
you get it. Hardy, dude, Hardy's another one. TNT, they're local up by me, they're
Yeah.
here in New England.
Thomas and
They roll
Thomas.
all yes,
Oh
yeah,
yeah.
Thomas and Thomas. They roll all their own stuff up in their Greenfield location. Like start to finish, it's made in the USA. Great products. And when you cast those rods, I mean, you got to cast it back to back. But like when I cast, and there's nothing wrong with it. I fish a lot of Orvis Clearwaters too, right? Love the rods,
Yeah.
but like when I cast a Helios against the Clearwater, I understand the price
Oh
difference,
yeah.
right? Like, but you have to know, like, you have to have the ability to appreciate it, right? Like if you're a first time fly fisherman, I tell a lot of my friends this. I'm like, you're probably not going to notice it, like, until you get to a certain level of skill. And so like for guys just starting out, you may not need that, but I think there's a time and a place for those premium products too. So
I
that
agree.
was my one pushback,
Yeah.
and I know you were about to go there, you said so, but I gotta just
Oh yeah.
I do love my finer things too.
Yeah, I do
So
too.
those wine and cheese guys are onto something sometimes, but
Oh
they may
yeah.
not know why they're onto it, right? You know what
Oh
I
yeah. I
mean?
think
So,
that's my thing too.
but
Is it's like they are onto something because they are. It is nice shit, but it's like I'm just not gonna be the dude to drop that
yeah.
money on it. I have
So like
my
I
nicest piece of equipment is, dude. You're gonna think this is kind of funny. It's an LL Bean Streamlight 2 and an Orvis Clearwater reel.
dude, I love it. No,
Yeah.
it's awesome. Yeah. So I mean, like for me, my nicest setup is my striper setup. I got a Helios 3
Oh, dude,
nine
that's awesome.
weight that I fucking love. Got it just before the fours dropped, which, maybe could have waited a little bit longer, but still love it. I call it my laser pointer. And
Hell
it's
yeah.
it's my laser pointer because like I can cast with like laser pointer accuracy with that thing. Big flies, I can send them. I love it. And then, I keep a Hatch 9 Plus on that. And I love it, dude. It's a bulletproof setup. But for me, it's like it's important for me to have that for when I get that opportunity at that big fish, whether it's, a nice striped
Striper.
bass or
Yeah.
like whether it's Albie season and like I've been grinding for an Albie from shore because I don't have a boat. So like I only wade fish unless I can convince a buddy to get me on his boat. And like I want to make it count. So like
Yeah.
that to me was like that's where like it was worth it. My trout stuff is a lot nittier and grittier because I just don't, like,
Same.
I have an old Recon like pre 2018 update
That's the good
that I use.
recon.
I love that rod, dude. It's a 5 weight that I just I dude, I love it. I've had it for so long. Um, and it's just like it's my baby, you know what I mean? Like I know how to cast it. I'm deadly accurate with it. I love fishing that rod. But I also, like for like my nymphing shit, it gets a lot grittier real quick,
Yeah,
So, and it is, you don't need anything too complicated to get out
yeah,
there, and yeah,
dude.
so
So
it's all good shit. It's all about what you want. It's all about
exactly,
personal preference.
I got that LL Bean, and then my 8 weight, which is my striper rod, or like my
Nice.
small saltwater rod. It's
Hmm.
It's an old Reddington Path 8 weight with the Reddington Path reel on it. Other
Nice.
than those two rods, all my other rods are the $80 Bass Pro Dogwood Canyon combo,
Yeah, dude,
and
my
I love it, dude. I can throw it against the fucking wall. I can drop it in the river. I can try and break it against a tree. And if I break it, I bring it right back to Bass Pro and they let me swap it out.
that's awesome. Yeah, no, I had a buddy that taught me how to Euro nymph on like it, this like $90 Cabela's, because we have Cabela's up by us more than
Yeah.
Bass Pro. Same shit, different name,
Yeah.
And dude is just a Hoover vacuum cleaner in the river, and he was like, "Nah, dude, like this is my setup. Like I don't need anything too complicated. This has a really soft tip. I can see everything." And I was like, "Yeah, I mean, shit. Why overthink it?" For a long time, I was using uh, a rod that he got for free. It was like an 11 weight, or excuse me, 11-foot 4 weight wet fly rod.
Oh,
It was the
shit.
most heinously stiff, like baseball bat right up to the tip. And I would be like, I'm Euro nymphing. And I'm like, like kind of like, I can't see anything. There's no like responsiveness on the tip. I finally fished a real Euro rod, and I looked at my buddy and I was like, oh my, what have I been doing? He's like, I don't know what you've been doing, but it's not been Euro nymphing. Like you've been missing fish left and right using this baseball bat. But I was still, I still had like great results.
Yeah.
There was a period of time where I remember telling my friends, I'm like, you know, you can go to the river and not get skunked. It is possible. You just have to work it a little bit.
Yeah.
And it's funny, and especially funny coming from a guy that runs skunked again, where getting skunked was like a large part of my come up. But yeah, dude, it's all great, and it's just about getting out on the water and having fun.
Exactly.
And that's why I think, like, to circle it back just to like what we were talking about, so why the ego stuff like makes no real sense to me. And like, as long as you're getting out there and you're catching fish, and not even catching fish, as long as you're getting out there and having a good time, um, to me, I'm just like, you don't need to be anybody, as
No.
long as you're just having a good time. Like, so yeah, that's like, I'll get off my soapbox, but that's what it's all about. So
Dude,
yeah,
it is
yeah,
though too. And it's like, dude, that's part of the big reason why I like started this podcast. I know my girlfriend was getting sick of me talking her ear off about fishing. So I was like, fuck it.
totally,
I'm gonna start a fucking podcast. Just talk to people that give a shit more about fly fishing.
totally,
and
totally, dude.
that's really why I started it. I was like, you know what, this is kind of fun. I'm gonna keep doing it.
Dude,
and
exact. So like it's a similar story about how Farmy came about. Like I was saying at the beginning of this, it's like I just needed an outlet to keep thinking about and talking about fishing.
yeah,
That was outside of my head and outside of like my core group of friends that fished. And now, it's nice to have that outlet and to like get to make fun of the guys that are so serious. And like sometimes I forget that, like, I think sometimes people forget that you can have fun with this,
exactly.
especially like up by us. The Euro nymphing thing has
Oh, dude, it's
really become
crazy.
like, I like, it's, like the whole, I finally got to meet Devin Olson this winter, and he's a great guy. He's super fun, and like super fun to hang out with. And like I said, just like really nice. I talked to him for just a few minutes, but I used to always be like tactical nymphing, like tactical nymphing. Like to me, like, that's his thing, is tactical
Oh,
nymphing. And like I used to always be like, tactical nymphing to me is like dudes in like camo and night vision goggles, and like, like they're fast roping out of a fucking Black Hawk onto the river to like tactically nymph, right?
yeah.
And like, the Euro nymphing scene in our neck of the woods, got like super hot and super popular, and like, it is like it, guys take it seriously,
Oh
right? And I
yeah.
get it. Like they want to catch a lot of fish. And like I just can't help but make fun of how serious it gets sometimes. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? With like the camo waders and this and that. And I get that it improves. Don't get me wrong. These guys are, like I said, like, dude, just like Hoover vacuums for fish. So like clearly what they're doing works, but like I can't help but like poke a little fun at it every now and then and be like, we're taking this thing so seriously. These are fish with brains the size of a like, a peanut. And like we are human beings. You know what I mean? Like when you're like talking about like the alpha fish or the apex
The
fish,
apex
like,
predator.
yeah, like you can't help but just kind of like sit there and be like, yeah, like the alpha, like we want to catch alphas or we want to catch apex fish. Like, dude, like it's fly fishing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, let's remember. And it's easy for me to say this too, though, because to me, this is a hobby. This isn't a career, right? And so,
Exactly.
like, I get when you're a guide and you're like, dude, when I go to work, I'm super serious, right? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, like that's when you should be serious. So I get that there are guys that go to work on the river and they're going to be super serious and they want to be super dialed in because they, if you're paying 500 bucks, whatever, for a full day, that's not chump change, right? Plus a
Oh
tip.
yeah.
Like, yeah, like you want to go with somebody that's like going to give you the trip you want. We talked about that earlier, where like, some people want the super serious guide, some people want the super relaxed turtle box fish with the guide type experience, right?
Yeah.
Um, but like, yeah, it's fun to kind of just remind people every now and then that like you are allowed to have fun with this and you're allowed to laugh at this. And like we can all take that step back
Oh
and
yeah.
like be like, maybe we were being a little serious about this, you know? And I think it rubbed in my community, especially up here, I think at first it rubbed people the wrong way. And then once guys got to know me and, I'd show up at like the local events, when people knew who I was and stuff like that. And like they got to talk to me and they got to realize that like it is all in good fun.
Oh yeah.
It's not, like some people take my jokes the wrong way and I think they get really bent out of shape about them, but like it is meant to be at the end of the day, like in the spirit of just having fun. And it's easy for that to get lost in this sport, especially, or this hobby, especially. And, but yeah, I haven't been deterred by it. And I think the longevity and the success that we've had and like it's obviously hit the right nerve because it's not just me either, right? Like
Yeah.
it's Stalker Mobile, it's Purist on the Fly. There's Big Trout Little Dick, like there's Trout Bunny Fly Co. I know I'm missing some of the guys that like I talk to on a regular basis, but like there's a ton of us doing this stuff that and we've been doing it and it's just been tons of fun, and
Oh
and
yeah.
I think that it's starting to resonate with people and I think we're starting to see that kind of like real fun spirit come back, especially now that we're like a little bit back to basics, the whole hubbub around the COVID and the way the industry blossomed for a few years there. It's
Oh
all
yeah.
starting to come back down to earth. And as it comes back down to earth, I think people that are left are sitting here being like, yeah, we do this because it's fun. We do this because like we like doing it, not because we're
Yeah.
here to take ourselves so seriously, right?
Yeah.
So it's been great. And it's good. So, and 4 years in, I'm not planning to slow down anytime soon. I'm going to keep cracking the jokes, and I hope it keeps resonating with people, and I hope that I get to keep um, bringing the jokes to more people. Right? It
Yeah.
is fun to interact with just more and more people every day, and to get to have the pulse on the industry and to know what people are thinking and to talk to regular people
Oh yeah.
that just like this, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, it's everything's good. I think we're trending all in the right direction.
You
And
you know what I think was a step back though?
tell me.
Sims taking down the fish whistle pouch weed picture. You remember that
So
shit?
I remember it very well because I asked for one and I never got one from Sims, and I asked them for one multiple times. I said, you know who needs the fish whistle more than anyone else? Farmy needs the fish whistle. You got to get Farmy in on the fish whistle. And I was like, and I had a rocky relationship with Sims for a little bit, and we've all since buried the hatchet. Because I got to know those guys really well, and I got to realize that like they're great guys. Because I gave them a lot of shit when they first sold a few years back, and and then I took a lot of shit when I started becoming like when I started easing up on them from people that were like, no, they're evil. I'm like, no, they're not evil, dude. They're a bunch of guys that like to fish just like we do. And like, you got to give them a little leeway. But
Yeah,
I would love to see, yeah, I'd love to see that come back.
I would
And
too.
maybe they'll come back with it. And if they don't, maybe somebody will fill that void because there's definitely room for there's room for the like kind of counterculture, not counterculture, but there's room for that kind of fun,
I
you know what I
agree.
mean?
I completely
um
agree.
and people like it, and so I have a feeling that was probably a business decision by somebody else because I would garner that it's probably not their best selling product, but
But the people that love it love it. We should start a camp. We should
they
start a
do.
campaign,
Bring back the fish whistle. We should make one of those change.org petitions and see if
dude. We
anybody listens.
should. Oh my god, we should.
I'll let you spearhead that. I'll let you spearhead that, but I'll promote it. If you start that
Dude,
change.org petition, I'll gladly promote it on my page.
dude, I might ride down the road and get a 12 pack and just jot that whole thing up as
Write it,
soon
dude.
as we
Write it
get
up,
off
dude.
this.
Yeah, do it, dude. I'll repost it on Farming as soon as we're done.
Oh,
That'd be
dude,
funny.
I'm
That'd
about
be a
I'm
fun. That'd
about
be
to
a fun
do that
collab.
tonight.
All right.
What's that website called? I'm
I
about
think
to
I think it's change.org. I think it's change.org.
I'm about to
That's the one that I keep seeing passed around for like, every cause out there.
dude.
I'll stop short of saying anything specific, but any cause of the moment, I always see
Yep,
people
here it
launching
is. Start a
change.org petition.
petition, dude.
There it is. All right,
This
here
is
we
about
go.
to be groundbreaking.
Hey,
We're about to make history
Ryan,
tonight.
change starts here. Change starts here. You know what I mean? Change starts with
Change
you.
starts
And
here,
so we're
dude.
about to do it.
I'm about to
Change
clip this.
starts with you.
I'm about to clip this and post it on the
There we
Instagram
go.
story and
All right, perfect.
be like, there big things coming,
There
huge
we go.
things
I love
coming.
it. I love it.
All right,
All right.
all
Yeah,
right,
hell yeah.
dude.
All
So,
right, you got one usable, at least you got one usable clip out of this hour and
nah,
17 minutes
dude,
that I've been rambling.
this is probably my fucking favorite episode that I have had. No offense to uh any of the other guests I've
Guests
had.
or
Yeah,
yeah,
that's what I'm
yeah.
looking for. But this has been a great one. But
Good. All right, well, I'm glad.
every guest that I have on, I ask them this question. I
All right.
left it off of the outline. I just realized, but your 5 go-to fishing songs. I
All
put it
right.
in
Five.
a I put it in a
You sent me a
playlist.
follow-up email. Yeah, you sent me a follow-up email.
Oh, did I?
So yeah, so
Okay,
I did have a
perfect.
second to think about this. You're not putting me totally on the spot.
Okay,
But so I got a really diverse list for you. And
perfect.
5 songs was hard, but I'm gonna give you 5 songs. It's in no particular order, but um my thought process in this, because I don't listen to music while I fish, right?
Okay,
So I'm to me, it's like when I finally get on the water, it's my time to finally disconnect from everything, right? So I had to think about this a little differently because I'm like, what's gonna get me ready to go as I'm pulling up to the river? All right.
all right.
So here's my five. And again, no particular order. We're gonna go with Let the Good Times Roll. I think it's 1993 version, 95. It's a Live Dead. It's off of one of their last Live Dead albums. Not usually one to go that deep into, I'm not always the most 90s Dead guy, but Let the Good Times Roll.
Hell yeah.
We're gonna put Meet Me at the Creek by Billy Strings on
Fuck
there.
yeah.
We're gonna put Kill a Cam. We're gonna put Kill a Cam off of Cameron's Purple Haze. Because you gotta then bring the energy back to a little bit of, it's more of a slow, but
Kill a
how do you
cam,
not
roll that shit.
exactly
Hell
off of
yeah.
Purple Haze?
Got it.
Okay. So then we got to have Set It Off by Juvenile. We got
Oh,
to bring it
hell
back
yeah.
to the old Cash Money
Oh, no,
Records
set it off,
days.
Boosie.
No, no, no.
No?
Boosie has a Set It Off, but Set It Off by
Okay,
Juvenile.
got it right here.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, 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 no. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Now, don't get it twisted. Set It Off by Boosie's a classic, but Set It Off by Juvenile, you're not going to get more pumped up to get to the river than with a Set It Off by Juvenile. And then Here for a Good Time, George Strait,
Hell
because
yeah.
that's what it's all about. That's what we were just talking about. We're not here for a long time. We're here for a good time. Fishing doesn't last forever. You got to have fun while you're out on the river. So that's going to be my five that we're going to add to the playlist.
Dude, I
We
fuck.
got a mix between Absolute, Get You Pumped Up, Set It Off by Juvenile. Um, I mean, how do you? He's got a lyric in there about buying I'll edit it about buying a woman a forerunner. I mean, how much more fishing does it get than that?
Exactly, dude.
Um,
They
you
just they
know,
just gotta they just gotta
yeah.
slap a rep your water sticker on the back of it now.
Exactly, exactly. So that's going to be, let the good times roll. That's what we're all about, having a good time on the water. Meet me at the creek. Billy Strings doesn't get more explicit than that. Kill a Cam. I just like Cameron, so we got to
Hell
have that
yeah.
on there. Set it off. Like I said, we're going to get you nice and amped up and ready to go. And then George Strait's going to remind you what it's all about. Not we're here for a good time.
Hell
So
yeah.
that's my five for you.
I had Midnight Rider, Allman Brothers.
Okay. Yes, sir.
You can have The Crown, Sturgill.
Yes.
White House Road, Tyler Childers.
Yep.
Edmund Fitzgerald.
Okay.
Jet Airliner, Steve Miller Band.
Dude, great. Fucking love it.
Hell
Love it.
yeah.
Love it.
But
It's the same side of two coins. So,
exactly. Dude, that's a good fucking list that you just listed out right there, dude.
hey man, I put a little thought into it. So I couldn't come unprepared because I knew if I was on the spot, it was not going to be I would be like going through my like last played on Spotify and it'd be like a bunch of podcasts that nobody would want to hear before you get to the river. So
Well, dude, yeah, that list goes hard. But dude,
all
that's
right.
all I got for you, man. Dude, thank you
No,
so
hey,
much for coming on tonight, dude.
yeah, Ryan, this was a lot of fun. I don't do a lot of stuff like this, so I was happy to sit down with you, and this was a lot of fun. So
Hell
I
yeah, dude.
appreciate you having me.
Dude, if I'm back up in that area anytime soon, I'll shoot you a text. I'll shoot you a message
Yeah,
after this. But
perfect.
dude, thank you for coming on again, man.
Yeah, I don't think I said anything too objectionable. I
Nah,
feel
dude.
good about myself. I feel really good. It's better than the days when we used to do the lives with Purist and Nymphing and James, and I'd get off and I'd have like just DMs and they'd be like, "Oh my God, I can't believe you guys said that." And I'd be like, "What did we say?" And I'd be like, "Oh no, like what did we say?" And I'm like, "Oh shit." Like
Dude,
all right, I guess I'm never gonna be friends with some of the guys that I was just talking about. But
dude,
no, so I
I
don't think I
got
said anything too objectionable in this one. I think I
dude,
was
yeah,
a good
this
boy.
was awesome, dude. But again,
Good.
dude, I appreciate it. Great episode. I'll shoot you a message after this, and I'm about to get on
All right.
change.org and start bring
Shane,
back the fish whistle.
let's get the petition going and we'll put the pressure campaign where it needs to go.
Hell yeah, we'll get it in
All right,
Sim's
Ryan.
hands.
I can tell you this. I can guarantee you it will be seen by people at Sims. For better or for worse, but
Hey,
I can
hell with it.
guarantee you it'll be
Hell
seen
with
by
it.
folks.
Any
Yeah,
publicity is
for
good
sure.
publicity.
All right.
All
Hell
right,
yeah, Ryan.
bro.
Hey
Uh,
man, it was great to connect with you.
Yeah, man. I'll shoot you a
All right.
text and
All right.
appreciate you, bro.
All right. Talk to you soon. This was a lot
Talk
of
to you
fun.
soon.
Yep. Bye.
All right, bye.